forget everything you think you know about survival. I want you to just take a second and really imagine you're standing on the deck of a warship. Now look up. The sky isn't blue, it's a hornet's nest. And every single one of those hornets is diving right at you with one single purpose: to kill you and everyone you can see. This isn't some movie script. This is the true story of one American destroyer and the 80 minutes that, by all rights, should have been its very last. Everything that happens from here on out, it all starts with this number, 22. That isn't just a statistic, that's 22 individual death sentences, each one wrapped in an airplane flown by a pilot who had, believe it or not, already attended his own funeral. 22 kamikazes all pointed at one single isolated ship. The mathematical odds of survival? They were basically zero. And then there's this number, 80. 80 minutes. You know, that's about the length of a movie, maybe a boring class in school. But for the crew of the USS Laffey, it was an absolute eternity of nonstop, deafening, soul-shattering violence. From the second the first plane showed up to the moment the last one went down, 80 minutes was the time frame for their entire world to burn to the waterline. So that gets us to the big mystery we're going to unpack together. When all the math says you're dead, when the enemy is absolutely relentless, and when your ship is literally coming apart around you, how do you survive? The answer? Well, it's not simple, but it's a blueprint for understanding this incredible collision of technology, training, and just the raw, stubborn refusal of the human spirit to break. Okay, so let's set the scene. The date is April 16th, 1945. We're at a place called Radar Picket Station Number 1. This was this lonely little patch of ocean about 30 miles north of Okinawa, and it was, this literally, the most dangerous place on the planet for a sailor. The USS Laffey was the tip of the spear, the fleet's early warning system. But, being the tip of the spear also means you're the first one to hit the enemy and the first one to get hit back. You're the bait. And the predator they were trying to bait was something new and, frankly, terrifying. Operation Kikusui, which means floating chrysanthemums. The name sounds almost beautiful, but the reality was a strategy born from pure desperation. With its main navy basically shattered, Japan just unleashed thousands of planes in these massive coordinated suicide waves. The grim calculation was simple: trade one plane and one pilot for one American ship. And the Laffey, way out there all by itself, was the gatekeeper they had to get through to reach the main fleet. So you've got these two main characters in our story. On one side, you have Commander F.J. Becton. This is a man who must have felt like he was cursed. He'd already had 2 ships sunk right out from under him. And the Navy, in its wisdom, gives him a third command. And on the other side, you have his ship, the USS Laffey. She was a technological marvel, one of the newest destroyers out there. And this is crucial. Becton, driven by his past failures, had drilled his crew until they were a flawless gunnery team. So you have a haunted commander and a perfect ship. One was headed for redemption, the other, it seemed, for total annihilation. And now, the clock starts. We're about to walk through this 80-minute gauntlet. And I don't mean just a list of events. This is a cascade of system failures, snap decisions, and moments of just unbelievable courage. It's one of the most savage ship versus air battles in all of history. At 8:30 in the morning, it begins. 4 Japanese planes show up. A classic opening move, a probing attack. But the Laffey's crew responds with the cold precision of a well-oiled machine. Their advanced radar is feeding data to the fire control computers. The guns swing around, elevate, and just boom. In just 3 minutes, all 4 attackers are blown out of the sky. Can you imagine the feeling on deck? That surge of confidence. The training works, the tech works, we can do this. Yeah, that confidence didn't last long. That first wave, that wasn't the real attack. It was just the setup. Suddenly, the sky just fills with dozens more planes. And they aren't coming in a straight line. No, they're coming from everywhere at once. High, low, out of the sun, even using the ship's own smoke for cover. The Japanese strategists had figured something out. You don't attack the American ships. You attack the American minds. This wasn't just a military tactic. It was a psychological assault, designed to create pure chaos and completely overload the human brain's ability to process and react. And it works. At 8:42, the ship's world just breaks. A kamikaze smashes into a rear gun turret, and the blast jams the rudder hard to port. Just like that, the Laffey can't steer. It's trapped in this slow, helpless circle, making it a perfect target. 5 minutes later, another plane hits the aft engine room, killing the crew inside and gutting the ship's speed. Then, just 4 minutes after that, a bomb finds an ammunition magazine. The ship starts to eat itself from the inside out with these massive secondary explosions. In less than 10 minutes, the Laffey is blind, it's lame, and it's bleeding out. I mean, just look at this. This chart tells the story of a ship being literally dismembered in real time. At 8:30, 100% of its main guns are working. By 8:50, just 20 minutes into the fight, fires and direct hits have knocked out nearly 3/4 of its main weapons. The sky is still full of enemies, but the ship is quickly running out of ways to shoot back. The machine is broken. So this is the thing. This is the moment the story should end, right? This is where the technology fails, where the ship's design just isn't enough anymore. The battle of systems and steel is over. But a new battle is just getting started. A contest of sheer, bloody-minded human will. And I want you to really think about this for a second. Put yourself there. The deck is slick with oil and worse. Your ears are ringing from the non-stop explosions. The ship is on fire, you're sailing in a circle, and your friends are either dead or wounded. Every single primal instinct in your body is screaming at you to jump, to just save yourself. So what on earth makes you stay? This right here is the answer. As the chaos hit its peak, an officer screamed at Commander Becton, asking if they should get ready to abandon ship. And Becton, the guy who had already lost 2 ships, remember, roared back over the noise, "I'll never abandon ship as long as a gun will fire." That one sentence became the new reality for everyone on board. It wasn't just an order, it was a mission statement, and it spread from man to man like a spark in the dark. It meant, we are not victims, we are not sinking, we are still fighting. And that one sentence fueled these impossible acts of bravery. Deep down in the hull, engineers in the forward engine room were battling 130-degree heat just to keep the last engine alive. On the burning decks, with all the fire hoses shredded, damage control teams fought raging fires by literally scooping up flaming wreckage with their helmets in their bare hands. And then there's this moment that just defies belief. The damage control officer, Lieutenant Runk, sees a 500-pound Japanese bomb sliding across the deck, its fuse smoking. He doesn't run away. He runs towards it, picks the thing up, and heaves it over the side. It exploded in the water, rocking the whole ship, but saving it from being blown in half. As American fighter planes finally showed up to drive off the last of the attackers, the sky went quiet. And in that ringing silence, the survivors had to figure out what just happened. They had to do the math on how they had just beaten odds that weren't just long, they were statistically absurd. So here's the final scorecard. Of the 22 main attackers, Laffey's gunners, remember on a burning, circling ship with most of their guns destroyed, still managed to shoot down 8 of them. The American fighters that arrived took down another 8. 6 got through to score those devastating hits. What this really shows is that the Laffey didn't win alone. They won by holding on, by just refusing to die long enough for help to show up. They bought their own salvation with blood and fire. And this wasn't just luck. It was a tactical win against a really smart plan. The Japanese strategy was to overwhelm the human mind. Laffey's counter was training so deep it was pure instinct. The Japanese targeted the ship's command centers. Laffey's design had built-in backups that kept critical systems running. The Japanese used the sun and smoke to hide. Laffey's radar saw right through it. For every single move the enemy made, Laffey had a countermove, even when that countermove was just one guy throwing a bomb over the side. But we can't forget that this survival came with a cost. 32 sailors lost their lives in those 80 minutes. 71 more were wounded, many of them horribly. It was a victory, for sure, but it was paid for at the highest possible price. Now, the story doesn't end when the fires go out, not even close. Because what happened to the Laffey in that small slice of a morning sent shockwaves that would fundamentally change naval warfare, tactics, and even how ships are designed for the next 75 years. Before this battle, the accepted wisdom in the Navy was that a lone destroyer caught in a mass kamikaze attack was already dead. It was a simple, brutal equation. The USS Laffey took that equation and just tore it to pieces. It proved that a well-designed ship, a well-trained crew, and an unbreakable commander could look a mathematical certainty right in the face and refuse to blink. And this just lays out its incredible lasting impact. The Laffey's fight became the textbook case study for modern damage control. Sailors today still learn lessons paid for that crew. The need to counter multiple, simultaneous threats, the exact problem Laffey faced, directly led to the creation of the Aegis combat system you see on modern warships. And Back in 1945, the story of Laffey's survival spread like wildfire through the fleet, giving hope to thousands of other sailors on other picket ships who all thought they were on a suicide mission. The ship herself actually survived and served for another 3 decades. Today, you can go walk her decks at the Patriots Point Museum in South Carolina. And if you go, you can still see the twisted, scarred metal of her superstructure. The Navy intentionally left some of the battle damage there, unrepaired. A permanent, silent memorial to the absolute fury of those 80 minutes and to the iron will of the men who lived through it. So why does this story matter now in our world of drones, AI, and what we think are perfect systems? Well, the story of the USS Laffey is a stark reminder of one timeless truth. All systems can fail. All technology can be overwhelmed. And when the plan completely falls apart and chaos takes over, the last and most powerful weapon system we will ever have is the human spirit, simply refusing to break. And that is the ultimate lesson from the ship that would not die.